through our website www.wedr.org. WADR, promoting dialogue.
It's May Day in Dakar, 1 o'clock in Lagos. Good afternoon, and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world at wadr.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. Liberia's President Bouakai defies the Supreme Court's ruling, announces his government's collaborations with unconstitutional legislative leadership.
We will continue to work with a quorum that would ensure the full functioning of our government. The division in the House of Representatives remains unresolved.
Ghana's President Mahama launches nationwide provision of free sanitary pads to junior and senior high school girls. Ivorian government denied its involvement into recent failed coup attempt in Burkina Faso.
As for the accusations from Burkina, I am still waiting for the evidence of the latest accusations. Sometimes, especially when you are the head of a country, you have to be serious.
And Africa suffers another setback as U.S. President Trump announces upcoming closure of Millennium Challenge Cooperation. Details of these stories and more are coming up shortly.
Here is Augustine Coley with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast and a warm welcome to our listeners across the sub-region and beyond. Newslink begins in Liberia, where President Joseph Yuma Bouakai announced that he will continue collaborating with the majority bloc of representatives in the national legislature despite the Supreme Court's latest ruling that recognizes the opposition speaker's leadership. In his address to the nation on Thursday evening, President Bouakai acknowledged the authority of the Supreme Court, but stated that the underlying issues within the legislature body remain unresolved. This statement by the Liberian president is stirring numerous reactions from across sections of citizens in the country and abroad. WADR's Monrovia correspondent Abraham Parker reports.
The opposition has raised significant concerns, accusing the government of removing officials from their positions without following due process. In light of the Supreme Court's ruling, former President George Weah and Elizana Cummings, the political leader of the opposition Alternative National Congress, both issued statements urging the executive branch to respect the Supreme Court's order to ensure stability in the nation. In response, President Bouakai emphasized on Thursday evening his government's commitment to engaging in broad consultations with national stakeholders, including traditional leaders, to identify a constitutionally signed way forward. The president firmly asserted that under his leadership, the government will not be held in hostage by narrow interests or acts of lawlessness.
We intend to vigorously uphold the vital principle of our constitutional democracy. We will continue to work with a quorum that will ensure the full functioning of our government. The division in the House of Representatives remains unresolved, undermining public confidence in our most vital democratic institutions.
As the situation develops, many Liberians view the Supreme Court's decision as a crucial step towards aligning the country with its legal framework and promoting development to the adherence to the rule of law. However, uncertainty looms over whether members of the majority bloc will follow the leadership of Kofa, especially since Richard Kuhn, the leader of the majority bloc, has publicly rejected the court's ruling. This raises further questions about the legislative process in light of the president's emphasis on maintaining a quorum. For Newslink on WADR, Abraham Parker, Monrovia.
The government of Cote d'Ivoire has denied allegations that it was involved in the recent fuel coup attempt in Burkina Faso. According to officials in Ouagadougou, the attempt on the life of Burkinabe head of state Captain Ibrahim Traoré occurred in Abidjan a week ago. This information was made public earlier this week by the Burkinabe Ministry of Security. Imo Edit completes the story.
The Ivorian government spokesperson reassures that Côte d'Ivoire is not a rare base for destabilizing Burkina Faso. Amadou Coulibaly denies the new accusations from the Burkinabe authorities and demands proof.
As for the accusations from Burkina, I no longer know which accusations we are on. I am still waiting for the evidence of the latest accusations. Sometimes, especially when you are the head of a country, you have to be serious.
Since coming to power in September 2022, Burkina Faso's military authorities have made numerous accusations against Côte d'Ivoire, which has been cited in almost every attempt to destabilize Burkina Faso. In response, Abidjan has consistently denied the allegations. Diplomatic relations between Burkina Faso and Côte d'Ivoire have been strained for several months. Last February, the two countries had resolved their diplomatic dispute and committed to cooperating on security issues along their shared border. Ivorian Defense Minister Tene Birahima Ouattara had stated that Côte d'Ivoire wanted to organize joint patrols with Burkina Faso to secure border areas against the terrorist threat.
Imo Edit with that report. Let's travel to Mauritania now, where the verdict in the appeal trial of former President Mohamed Ould Abdelaziz will be delivered on May 14 this year. And this follows his appeal hearing, which concluded on Wednesday. The former Mauritanian president had rather been sentenced at the first instance of court for 5 years in prison. He is accused, among other things, of illicit enrichment and money laundering. Francis Boniface has the details.
After weeks of debate at the Nouakchott Court of Appeal, the prosecution has requested a 20-year prison sentence for former President Mohamed Ould Abdelaziz. The court asserts that there is no doubt about his guilt regarding illicit enrichment, abuse of office, and money laundering. During various hearings, the Attorney General of the Court of Appeal presented pieces of evidence to demonstrate how the former president allegedly used his position for personal gain. He accused Abdelaziz of blackmailing several investors to enrich himself. The funds obtained were reportedly laundered through an association founded by one of Abdelaziz's sons. However, during their closing argument, the defense lawyers attempted once again to refute all the prosecutor's accusations. They called on the court to declare itself incompetent to hear the case, arguing that only the High Court of Justice has the authority to try a former head of state. This was also the position expressed by Mohamed Ould Abdelaziz during his final statement, where he complained about the isolation caused by his 5-year detention. He expressed concern about no longer being able to communicate regularly with his family. As a reminder, in December 2023, the former president, Mohamed Ould Abdelaziz, was sentenced to 5 years in prison at first instance. Mohamed Ould Abdelaziz, who ruled Mauritania from 2008 to 2019, has consistently denied the charges against him.
Francis Boniface reporting there. Crossing over to Nigeria, where President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has ordered an urgent overhaul of the country's national security strategies. This latest mandate follows frequent attacks by unknown gunmen in Borno, Benue, Plateau, and Kwara states of the country. Usma Umar in Abuja has more in this report.
Following a marathon meeting with security chiefs at the State House in Abuja, President Tinubu on Thursday expressed deep frustration over recurring bloodshed, saying, I quote, enough is enough, end of quote. Nuhu Ribadu is the National Security Advisor to President Tinubu.
We, in charge of the security, got the opportunity today to come and brief him properly for hours. He's so worried and concerned. He insisted that enough is enough, and we are working and to ensure that we restore peace and security. We feel that we have done enough to believe that we are on the right course and will be able to be on top of things. We are getting the cooperation of like I said, the leadership at the state level and everybody. So we are good. It's not really 100% that everything is safe and secure, but we are going there. Things have improved since.
However, a security analyst well known as Mr. C is asking some critical questions about the president's directive.
To be honest, I cannot explain what that means to anybody because I don't know what enough is enough means. Is he saying that after that meeting there will be no more killings, or that if there are more killings that he will sack the service chiefs or he'll replace them? If the latter is what it means, then why did it take over 150 Nigerians losing their lives to get to the point where enough is enough? Because the signs have been there all year. The signs have been there last year. The signs have been there the year before last. And we cannot stop reiterating the fact one of the major drivers for the surge in this sort of terrorist activity by non-state actors is the economic landscape. A lot of people are suffering tremendously.
As Nigerians await a return to peace in the affected states, the burden now lies on the nation's security institutions to turn the president's words into action and prove that, indeed, enough is enough. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
And now to Ghana, where President John Dramani Mahama has launched a nationwide program to provide free sanitary pads to junior and senior high school girls across the country. This initiative is part of efforts to break a persistent barrier to girls' education. WADR's Accra correspondent Nadia Ditete reports.
For many girls in Ghana, menstruation has meant missed classes and missed opportunities, as noted by the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Namo Molate.
School-age girls in marginalized communities face the largest barriers of menstrual hygiene management.
The reality is expected to change with the launch of a nationwide program to provide free sanitary pads to girls in junior and senior high schools. According to President Mahama, who unveils the initiative, it is not just a symbolic gesture, but a long-term policy to keep girls in school with dignity.
So today I say to every girl child in Ghana, you are not alone, you are not forgotten, and you are not invisible. We see you, we believe in your potential, and we will stand with you every month, every term, and every year.
The program aims to tackle period poverty, a quiet but persistent crisis linked to absenteeism, poor academic performance, and school dropouts. Traditional leaders, including the Gamanche, Nitakite Kutru II, have lauded the move and called for greater cultural support for girls' education and dignity.
I support initiatives that provide support systems that ensure that the girl child gets well educated.
Though Vice President Professor Nana Jane Opokuajiman, under whose leadership the initiative was conceived, was absent due to ill health, President Mahama assured the public of her recovery and continued support.
She said to say hello to all of you and to say she's recuperating and catching a bit of rest. She's very well, and that soon she will join us.
The free sanitary pad program is part of a broader push to make education more inclusive in line with Ghana's national priorities and the UN Sustainable Development Goals on gender equality and quality education. Teachers and school administrators are expected to play a key role in implementation at the grassroots level. Beyond education, the president has urged local manufacturers to support domestic pad production, a move he says could create jobs and strengthen the local economy. For WADR, Nadia Ditete, Accra.
Here in Senegal, President Bassirou Diomaye Faye chaired the 4th Social Conference on Employment and Employability on Thursday. During the event, President Faye remarked that the development of artificial intelligence is disrupting the job market. Abdullahi Hassan reports.
President Bassirou Diomaye Faye reassured the private sector, partners and young job seekers of the state's firm commitment to providing concrete solutions to the employment problem. However, The president stated that skilled work and employment require a certain level of competence, quality, and aptitude. An essential pillar of social stability and human development, employment constitutes a solid guarantee of the right to a decent life. Skilled work and employment require a certain level of competency, quality, and aptitude. This is what we call employability. Therefore, there is an interdependent link between employment and employability that allows an individual to obtain, retain, and advance in a job. This is a constant challenge in the face of the major technological upheaval of our time, particularly with the rapid onslaught of artificial intelligence and the increasing use of robots and automated services in place of humans. These developments raise the acute question of the future of work and the skills of tomorrow. The overall objective of this fourth social conference is to develop a consensual roadmap for a national reform program to promote employment and employability in Senegal. The head of state, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, calls on the private sector, youth and partners to engage in rigorous consultation on this issue. We are in a time of great urgency, an urgency to act together in an inclusive and pragmatic process to develop an ambitious roadmap based on an adaptive institutional system. The youth of the population will encourage the state, the economic and social actors to work together to promote entrepreneurship and the survival of their jobs. This is what our government has been doing since we came to power. In the National Development Strategy 2025 to 2029, the analysis of the employment sector primarily reveals a lack of a national employment policy. Given this situation, it is therefore necessary to move toward a new paradigm on the basis of which a new reform will be built to support and facilitate this desire to promote and create dignified and decent jobs in Senegal.
Abdullahi Hassan Fight that report. You are still listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Here is a reminder of the top stories. Liberia's President Boakai defies a Supreme Court's ruling, announces his government's collaborations with unconstitutional legislative leadership. Ghana's President Mahama launches nationwide provision of a free sanitary pads to junior and senior high school girls. Ivorian government denies involvement into recent fuel coup attempt in Burkina Faso. Still ahead in the news, mourners are gathering in the Vatican City for the funeral of the late Pope Francis. We also have guest interview and sports news. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Many thanks for staying with us. We're streaming live on YouTube at WADR News and on Facebook, WADR English Service. As the world prepares to bid farewell to Pope Francis, the 266th pontiff and a transformative figure in modern Catholicism, mourners are gathering in the Vatican City for his funeral, set to take place tomorrow Saturday in St. Peter's Square. Sankule Janko has the details.
The passing of Pope Francis, the 266th Pope of the Roman Catholic Church, who died on Monday, April 21, 2025, at the age of 88, was announced after he led an Easter service early on Sunday. His death followed a sudden stroke after a recent battle with double pneumonia. The Vatican confirmed he died peacefully at his residence, the Domus Sancta Marta, surrounded by close aides. Here, Cardinal Kevin Farrell announced the Pope's passing on the Vatican's TV channel.
Carissimi fratelli e sorelle,
Dearest brothers and sisters, it is with deep sorrow that I must announce the death of our Holy Father Francis. At 7:35 this morning, the Bishop of Rome, Francis, returned to the house of the Father.
Born George Mario Bergoglio in Buenos Aires, Argentina, in 1936, Pope Francis made history as the first Latin American and Jesuit Pope. Elected in 2013, he was known for his simplicity, humility, and focus on social justice. He often eschewed papal luxuries, choosing instead to live modestly and advocate for the poor, refugees, and marginalized communities. His papacy was marked by efforts to reform the Vatican bureaucracy and promote interfaith dialogue. The news of Pope Francis' passing has drawn an outpouring of grief and tributes worldwide. In Africa, leaders have expressed deep sorrow and admiration for his legacy. The Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, was full of praise for the Pope while reacting to his demise.
Pope Francis was a messenger of hope, humility, and humanity. He was a transcendent voice for peace, human dignity, and social justice. He leaves behind a legacy of faith, service, and compassion for all, especially those on the margins of life or trapped by the horrors of conflict.
Pope Francis' legacy is characterized by his commitment to social justice, environmental stewardship, and interfaith dialogue. Even though he is gone, his legacy will remain, as stated by Father Peter Lopez, director of Gambia Pastoral Institute.
He's a pope for those who are less fortunate in life, and that is depicted in the many places that he went. Just before he died, he was at the prison to wash the feet of the prisoners during the Mass of the Lord's Supper. So he was really a pope who gave ears to those who were less fortunate, to migrants. In a very special way, the documents that he wrote, especially on the care of the environment.
As the church prepares for a conclave to elect a new pope, attention turns to potential African candidates who could succeed Pope Francis. Father Lopez highlighted prominent figures among them.
We have prominent cardinals there who will be in the conclave. Cardinal Sarah is from West Africa. He's not far from us here. He comes from Conakry. And then Peter Toxin from Ghana. Maybe the one from Nigeria because of age. Yes. Now he's of age. But these are wonderful cardinals who can possibly become popes. And that would be great for this continent that has, I think, the highest number of Catholics now.
Pope Francis' funeral is scheduled for Saturday, April 26, 2025, in St. Peter's Square, with over 170 international delegations expected, including heads of state and religious leaders. Following the funeral, the College of Cardinals will convene to elect a new pope, with the conclave expected to begin after May 6. Only time will tell who will succeed Pope Francis. However, his successor, according to Catholics, should build on the legacy of the late pope, among them being the voice of the voiceless, promoting peace and reconciliation in conflict-affected areas, including in Africa, advocating for economic equality, respect for human and migrant rights, and campaign for preservation for ecosystems.
Sankule Janko with that special features on the late Pope Francis.
Politics, analyses on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Our guest this afternoon is Dr. Maja Peters, a Nigerian security expert. He speaks about Nigerian President Tinubu's latest mandate to overhaul the country's national security strategies. This mandate follows frequent attacks by unknown gunmen in Borno, Benue, Plateau, and Kwara states of the country. Here is Dr. Peters.
When we talk about that, government or the executive try to put forth energy, and now they're talking about rejig of the security and to change the strategy. Many a times we've had a lot of people say that of late, Nigerian security system has been more of reactive instead of being proactive. So people are saying you don't wait. It's good for you to do a mapping of your security system and do a security check and security impact analysis. And when that is done, then you are supposed to take the fight to where you think the enemies are. You don't wait to defend yourself because most of the time you're taking unawares. So I think it is within the framework of that has happened. Right now, the economy is not doing very well. And with the economy not doing very well, means that the whole idea of illegitimate means of ends which the insecurity propagates is going to be more appealing to people who have nothing to do.
With this call by President Tinubu ordering on new national security strategies, would you consider a national security strategy already in existence, or there's none?
Every country has a national security strategy, and that's why there's an office of national security advisor. And for every country that comes on, there's always a security strategy. They have had policies on combating terrorism. They've had policies on violent extremism. They've had sovereignty and their property. So all of this has always been there. But when you hear people saying we need to change strategy, it means that what we're doing might not be yielding the result that we want. I don't think they can do anything differently, because the security policy of the present administration is take the fight to them. And they've been doing that quite a lot of time, and we've been seeing results with it. So maybe here there could just be an increased level of aggression towards the camp of the terrorists and the bandits and all of that.
But in other words, what will the current directive by the presidency instill? Is it that there should be replacement of officers or directors of national security, or recruitment of new security officers? Or is it that there's need for manpower, or what we term as logistics support?
Changing security strategy could simply mean let's have more boots on the ground. It could simply mean let's do something differently from what we used to do. It could simply mean let's be more aggressive. It could simply mean let's strengthen our information system. It could simply mean let's strengthen early warning, early response. At times when it is, hey, we need to have more boots on the ground, and if we don't have more people, let's recruit. But there are times when you realize that, okay, maybe the leadership of security are not as proactive as I want to do, and you need fresh bloods in the system. So all of this could all be a change in strategy, and sometimes it could just be approach. What we're doing, let's do it differently.
What do you think should be the way forward to ensuring that this directive this time takes effect and should have an impact that should be felt by the vast majority?
I think when this happens, everybody is going to be on his toes, because you realize that if things go like this, and it's just like being responsible for a system, and they're complaining about the system. You either do it right or you are your way out. So I think everybody is going to be on his toes now. We expect to see a result.
Dr. Maja Peters is a Nigerian security expert. Here comes Sankule Janko with the latest in the world of sports. Hello, Sankule.
Yes, hello, Augustine.
What's up with the latest in the world of sports?
The latest in the world of sport. Let's talk about grassroots football, because the semi-finalists of the CAF African Schools of Football Championship Ghana 2025 were officially confirmed on Thursday. After match day 2 of the 4, competition was concluded at the University of Accra. And interestingly, the qualified teams for the semi-final are Ghana, Senegal, Tanzania and Uganda. That is in the boys category. In the similar vein in the girls category as well, Ghana also qualified again. And we have fixtures tonight, this afternoon, for the semi-final fixtures. In the boys category, Ghana will take on Tanzania, and then Senegal will take on Uganda. Of course, Senegal, one of the favorites to win this championship. And in the girls category, we have Uganda taking on Morocco, and also host again Ghana taking on South Africa in the girls category of the semi-finals. All these games will be played this afternoon, Augustine.
Just before I let you go, what's happening tomorrow, Saturday, the basketball tournament?
Yes, we have the Sahara Conference taking place here in Senegal, of course, in Diamniadio, and I look forward to watching some great basketball games.
Yeah, I hope you get some tickets for me too, or
you would like to go
access
watch?
Pass. Of course, it's the weekend.
Well, that's it for sports.
Thank you. With that, we've come to the end of this edition of Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek and Dayogo for the technical support. Do interact with us via our social media platforms, X, Instagram at WADR English, and on Facebook, WADR English service. At 1 p.m., the comprehensive edition of the news in French, which is Info Chez Vous, will come your way with Demba Amaan. I am Augustine Cully. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, New Me FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County.
Radio Kagama 94.5 FM, Nibe County, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riverside County, Wakat FM Radio, Banga, Liberia, Radio Baf FM 91.3 Sierra Leone.
For you listening via Radio